Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm Austin Culp with Inflow CX, and we're very excited to talk to you about bringing your own carrier to Genesys Cloud. So I've got myself and I've got Todd Williams here, one of our senior solutions engineers. Very excited. Have a great agenda today, which we'll jump into right now. So first, for 2 to 3 minutes, probably we'll talk about who Inflow CX is, in case any of you are joining and are not familiar with us yet. Then I'll hand it over to Todd, who will go over why you might want your own carrier, and if it is possible, how do we go about that? Plenty of time for questions and answers at the end, but as always, feel free to type some questions into the Q&A session of the webinar. We'll answer any live that need answering. So if we dig into who InflowCX is, we'll start with our core services and capabilities. What we do as a company are provide strategic advisory, deployment, and managed services for contact center, customer experience, and unified communication solutions. We've got over 75 employees. We focus on, really mid-market and enterprise organizations. They choose us to, help with guidance, execution, and optimization of their overarching customer engagement strategy. Expertise is everything from, technology, whether that's customer experience technology, unified communications, contact center, workforce management, or anything that's sort of contact center adjacent, but also people and processes. So, all problems do not always root back to tech. A lot of times they do, but very often we find customers that come to us and say, we're just not sure if we're operationally wired to accomplish the things we want to accomplish. And we'll help people take a step back and do an overview of their contact center from a processes standpoint, but also from a people standpoint. We're partnered with a lot of key vendors out there, which I'll get into in a second. But the thing I always like people to understand about Inflow CX is that we provide a really vendor neutral approach to CX technology evaluation, labor strategies, and operational effectiveness. So we're not tied to 1, 2, or 3 particular technologies. So this is a customer slide. We work with some of the world's best organizations to help innovate their customer experience. Because we're hyper-focused on contact center and customer experience technology, we work with a wide array of companies. We know what we're great at. And because of that experience and, the thousands of customers that we have, whether you're a technology firm, a BPO, a healthcare company, a fintech company, it's very likely that we've worked with a company trying to accomplish similar things that you're trying to accomplish in your contact center journey. And because of that, we can use the expertise that we have built up and continue to innovate on and help you achieve your goals. This is just a sampling of some of our technology partners. I talked about, being vendor agnostic and vendor neutral earlier. That's absolutely true. In the contact center space, there are some really key leaders that we work with, Genesys, Five9, NiceCX1, and have several other partnerships in that realm too. Same thing on the UCaaS side, right? There are a lot of different vendors out there. This is just a sampling of some of the vendors that we work with. And then there's this CX ecosystem bucket, whether that's, companies that specialize maybe in just workforce management or just quality analytics or just AI, just agent assist. We help a number of different peoples. And again, the thing I always point back to is, it doesn't matter what tech you're on, what tech you're evaluating, come to us and we help you navigate this space. It's very, very complex. I think there's something like, over 100 different players in this contact center and CX ecosystem space. And so if I'm a customer, how do I navigate that? How do I figure out what's real and what's right for my business on top of, doing my regular full-time job? That's where Inflow comes into play. We know this space like the back of our hand and can help you navigate it based on your unique business requirements. Todd, take it away.
Thanks, Austin. Welcome, everybody. Todd Williams, Senior Solution Engineer here with InflowCX. And let's just get into the heart of it. Why would you want your own carrier? I got a couple bullets here. Existing contracts are in place. Many customers may have contracts that are in place that span multiple years, but you may need to flex and move to different technology. So you're kind of tied to that contract. You may have competitive rates today, or you may want the option to get competitive rates. So having that option to bring your own carrier would give you that flexibility. That flexibility to change, to control, And to kind of sum it up, that business continuity, really having that ability to span your services across multiple carriers instead of having all your carrier services in one basket, all your eggs in one basket, spread that across multiple carriers. That could be leveraging that as active, or from a disaster recovery perspective, giving you the option to flip from one carrier to the next if there is a situation that comes into play. One item that just came up just recently that I don't have a bullet out here is also expanding globally. I mean, why would you want your own carrier? Maybe you have to have multiple carriers. Maybe the carrier you have today or have in place today doesn't have services in a different global region. So having that ability to bring your own carrier gives you a flexibility to expand and to scale as needed. Is it possible? Yes, absolutely. So the answer to the question is you can definitely bring your own carrier. It's simple. You can have a cloud to cloud where you bring your own SIP trunk, or you set up a SIP trunk from your carrier directly to Genesys Cloud. All your toll-free numbers, all your DIDs get routed across that into Genesys Cloud. You could also, in some cases, depending on your infrastructure, there could be a situation where you have infrastructure that you can't remove at this moment. So you can easily set up a session border controller or leverage your existing local voice gateway and set up a trunk into Genesys in that situation. This is also very typical for customers that have that are bringing in Genesys Cloud or a contact center that are going to leverage their existing PBX or unified communications platform. That way you can keep all that infrastructure internal and set up a trunk between those platforms as well. Pricing information and general information is out there if you go out to the about byoc.cloud and how that would affect you as far as that traffic going across that SIP trunk. But what I really want to see is I like pictures. So visually, let's look at it from that perspective. Option A we just talked about was cloud to cloud. So very easy to have your cloud carrier set up those SIP trunks going into multiple different availability zones within the Amazon region that you set up. That gives you that, again, additional redundancy and that scalability piece. So again, the way Amazon is set up with Amazon Web Services, you have up 3 or more availability zones available to you. An availability zone is basically a data center. So you have multiple points of those those ingress points as far as the traffic. So again, you can set up through cloud to cloud. No infrastructure is required on site. As you can see, all the communication from Genesys Cloud to your agents would be over the internet. Another option, again, if maybe you have a contract in place for a digital, maybe you have a T1, DS3, E1, whatever that is, or maybe even have a SIP trunk into your existing location. Again, we can easily set up a SIP trunk from that, either your existing session border controller or a new one up into Genesys Cloud. And what does it give you? That flexibility. So from a flexibility perspective, you can set those multiple different carriers. So you could have your inbound traffic split across those carriers, carrier A, carrier B. And then if there's an issue with carrier A, all your traffic that's going to carrier B continues on with being totally unaffected. And then you have the ability, there's options out there to either REST-org those numbers from carrier A to carrier B, or maybe you have some configuration set up ahead of time to flip that traffic over to carrier B, but that gives you that business continuity for that inbound traffic coming in. You can also leverage this for splitting out the traffic. So maybe you have more competitive rates with carrier B than you do with carrier A. All your inbound comes in on carrier A, and then you route all your outbound out carrier B. So again, not just the flexibility, but gives you the option to maybe effectively choose more competitive pricing based on the rates that you're getting. Another item that we can do is bring in Genesys Cloud Voice. So Genesys Cloud is a carrier as well, and you can add them in the mix with your additional carriers. That gives you even more redundancy and more business continuity. So as that traffic is flowing in, and there may be an issue with carrier A or carrier B, you route that traffic to the Genesys Cloud Voice. Or again, segregate out that inbound versus outbound over those carrier connections as necessary. From a global perspective, maybe your inbound traffic is going to come in on Genesys Cloud Voice, and then you have different carriers globally that you're going to be leveraging for your traffic that's in the UK versus in Asia, or maybe even Australia. So again, lots of options there, and gives you that flexibility. The nice thing about it is you can definitely set up ahead of time from a business continuity perspective. You could set up a SIP trunk group. So think of that as being a layer on top of your carriers or your trunks, and you could have the routing set up that if there is any problem with routing with carrier A, I want to automatically route it to carrier B or route it to Genesys Cloud Voice. So these are all things that you can set up ahead of time to prepare for those situations to keep your business continuity solid. At this point, I've kind of covered all the key things as far as BYOC, bringing your own carrier to Genesys Cloud. I think right now we're going to open it up to questions, and I'll pass this back to you, Austin, to see if we have any questions that have kind of come in. There could have been some coming in, but I'm not monitoring that.
Yeah. Definitely. We don't have any questions, but if you do have any, please, we'll give you a minute or so. Please feel free to type those into the chat box and we'll answer them. All right, it looks like we're good. With that being said, thank you all for attending. Hopefully you got some good information today. Oh, wait, hold on. We do have a question, Todd, and the question is it possible to have the calls hit Genesys first, but then route back to their Cisco PBX for call routing?
The quick answer, when you say hit Genesys Cloud first, and then route back to Cisco. So Genesys Cloud Voice can definitely be set up for your inbound traffic, and then it can automatically have a SIP trunk. I mean, not automatically, but you can set up a SIP trunk to your Cisco infrastructure. And that from that perspective, the traffic would come in through Genesys Cloud and then basically go through and hit the Cisco infrastructure. If you want it to come into, the other option is it could hit Genesys Cloud first, and you could forward it to a Cisco infrastructure. But in that case, all the traffic would hit Genesys Cloud Voice first if it's Genesys Cloud Voice as a carrier. Does it state whether it's a carrier, Austin, or just hitting Genesys?
It does not, but Jackie just asked if that would still retain the data that was stuffed in the UUI for the screen pop.
Yes. Yeah, all traffic that would hit Genesys Cloud and routed to another platform, we could definitely pass that information through UUI, that standard configuration. There's other options as far as maybe providing or pushing that information onto the Cisco. But yes, that's absolutely a common configuration to keep that information of who that caller is, what their intentions, what they did, and push it on to the endpoint as far as what to do on that side.
Excellent. We got to thank you. So you did a good job, Todd.
Thank you.
Excellent. If there are any other questions, please feel free to type them in. But if not, I do hope you got some great information from our session today. We do these webinars pretty often. So if you see something you like, please sign up and always reach out. We've got our contact@inflowcx.com email address. You can also find our number, best ways to contact us on our website at inflowcx.com. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.